Ecclesiastes follows a pattern. 1. The thesis. 1.2. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Hebrew word, hebel, just vapor, breath, mist. Something fleeting, temporary, insubstantial, not worthless but not lasting. Not useless but unable to satisfy ultimately. 2. The experiments, chapters 1 to 10. Testing various pursuits to see if any provide ultimate meaning. Wisdom, chapter 1 to 2. Pleasure, chapter 2. Work and achievement, chapter 2. Wealth, chapter 2, 4 to 5. Legacy, chapter 2. Social connection, chapter 4. Religion without God, chapter 5. Politics and power, chapter 4. Each experiment ends the same way. This too is meaningless. This too is chasing after the wind. 3. The wisdom collected along the way, chapters 4 to 10. While testing these pursuits, the teacher discovers important truths. Some things are better than others, even if all is meaningless. Wisdom is better than foolishness. Life is better than death. Joy is possible despite meaninglessness. Timing and seasons matter. Community matters. 4. The conclusion. Chapter 12, 13, 14. Everything changes when God and eternity enter the equation. The author. The words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Ecclesiastes 1:1. Traditionally identified as Solomon, wisest man who ever lived, who built God's temple, who had limitless resources to test every pursuit. Irony. The man with everything discovered that everything isn't enough. Some scholars debate whether Solomon is the actual author or whether the book uses Solomon's persona. Either way, the message is the same. A person with unlimited resources to test every pursuit of meaning discovered. Nothing under the sun satisfies ultimately. Only God does. The central word, Hebel, Hebrew, appears 38 times in Ecclesiastes, translated as meaningless, vanity, futility, but literally means vapor, breath, mist. Think about what vapor is. You can see it. You can feel it. It's real, but you can't grab it. You can't hold it. It dissipates. It can't satisfy your thirst. That's what the teacher is saying about earthly pursuits. They're real. You can experience them, but you can't ultimately grab and hold them. They dissipate. They can't satisfy your deepest thirst. The key phrase, under the sun. This phrase appears repeatedly. Under the sun, shined horizontal perspective. Earthly, temporal, without God. What happens when you look at life only from earthly perspective? Everything is meaningless. Nothing lasts. Nothing ultimately satisfies. Death erases everything. What happens when you add the vertical perspective, God and eternity? Everything changes. Same life, same circumstances, but now with purpose, meaning, and hope. The great misunderstanding people read Ecclesiastes and conclude, the Bible is saying life is meaningless. No, the Bible is saying life is meaningless without God. Life has meaning with God. Ecclesiastes is the Bible's answer to atheism and secular humanism, not by arguing against them, but by showing what life looks like without God, and then showing what happens when God enters the picture. Why Ecclesiastes matters today in an age of existential crisis. What's the point? Depression and anxiety, pursuit of wealth, fame, pleasure, achievement, eat, drink, and be merry culture. Midlife crisis. Questions about meaning and purpose. Ecclesiastes addresses all of this, honestly, brutally, without pretending. Not a book of easy answers, a book of deep wrestling with life's hardest questions that arrives at the most profound conclusion. Fear God, keep his commandments, he will judge. Everything else is vapor. The goal. Ecclesiastes aims to demonstrate that life without God is meaningless. Collect wisdom for living well despite life's uncertainties. point toward God as ultimate source of meaning. Prepare hearts for the gospel. We need more than earthly pursuits. We need God. Let's explore the most misunderstood book in the Bible and discover what it actually teaches. The teacher opens with the most radical statement in Scripture. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Ecclesiastes 1:2. This is shocking. This is in the Bible. Inspired scripture declaring everything is meaningless. How do we understand this? The philosophical experiment. The teacher isn't making a theological declaration. He's setting up an experiment. The question, what if I examine life from purely earthly perspective, under the sun, without reference to God or eternity? What will I find? The methodology. I, teacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem. I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the sun. Ecclesiastes 1:13. He's going to use the greatest wisdom ever given to a human, unlimited resources, king of Israel, complete freedom to test anything, honest observation of results. The hypothesis, can anything under the sun provide ultimate meaning? The answer that keeps coming back. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. Ecclesiastes 1:14 KJV. Chasing after the wind. You can't catch the wind. You can feel it, but you can never grasp it, never hold it, never make it yours permanently. That's what earthly pursuits feel like when examined honestly. Real experiences, but ultimately ungraceable, ultimately unsatisfying. Why meaningless doesn't mean worthless, critical distinction, meaningless, Hebel, fleeting, temporary, unable to satisfy ultimately, worthless, having no value at all. Ecclesiastes does not say life is worthless. It says life is fleeting and unable to satisfy ultimately when pursued without God. The teacher actually says some things are better than others. Wisdom is better than foolishness, just as light is better than darkness. Ecclesiastes 2:13. A good reputation is better than fine perfume. Ecclesiastes 7:1. The living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing. Ecclesiastes 9:5. Life has relative values, real pleasures, genuine goods, but none of them are ultimate. None of them satisfy the deepest human thirst. The cycle of meaninglessness. Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Around and around it goes and returns to its circuits. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. Ecclesiastes 1:4-9. Everything cycles, nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new. It has already happened in the ages before us. Ecclesiastes 1:10. Sun rises and sets, wind blows in circles, rivers run to sea that never fills, generations come and go. The universe itself demonstrates the pattern. Without God giving it ultimate meaning, everything simply cycles, endlessly repeating, without direction, without purpose, without destination. The human condition. No one can comprehend what is happening under the sun. Despite their efforts to search it out, no one can discover its meaning. Even though they claim to know, they cannot find meaning in it. Ecclesiastes 8:16-17. Humanity is searching for meaning, desperately, through wisdom, pleasure, work, wealth, legacy, achievement. But meaning can't be found under the sun. It must come from above, from God, from eternity. What this teaches: 1. The Bible is honest about life's difficulties. Scripture doesn't pretend everything is fine. Ecclesiastes acknowledges life's frustrations, suffering, and apparent meaninglessness. 2. Under the sun perspective produces despair. Without God, life is meaningless. This is Bible's answer to existentialism, not arguing against it, agreeing with it, and then showing what changes everything. 3. Hebel doesn't mean worthless, fleeting, temporary, unable to satisfy ultimately, not worthless, but insufficient. 4. This sets up the conclusion. Everything in Ecclesiastes builds toward chapter 12 to 13 to 14. The experiment must run its course before the conclusion lands with full weight. 5. Human beings are meaning-seeking creatures. We desperately search for purpose. That search itself points to God, who placed that hunger in us. 6. Honestly examining life leads to God. The teacher's experiment doesn't end in despair. It ends in fear God and keep His commandments. The experiment begins, and what it reveals will change everything. First experiment, wisdom and knowledge. I said to myself, let me apply myself to wisdom and understanding and to research and strategy. I set out to accomplish this with wisdom. Ecclesiastes 1:17. If anyone could find meaning through wisdom, it was Solomon. God gave him supernatural wisdom. He was the wisest man who ever lived. The pursuit. I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the sun. This is an arduous task that God has given mankind to occupy themselves with. Ecclesiastes 1:13. Solomon threw himself into studying everything: history, philosophy, science, nature, human behavior, pursuing knowledge with everything he had. The discovery. For with much wisdom comes much grief, and as knowledge increases, sorrow increases. Ecclesiastes 1:18. More wisdom brought more pain, not less, more. Because wisdom sees clearly. And seeing clearly sometimes means seeing how broken everything is. The ignorant don't know enough to despair. The wise know too much to pretend. I said to myself, the fate of the fool will happen to me too. Then what have I gained by all my wisdom? Ecclesiastes 2:16. Both wise and foolish die the same death. Both are forgotten the same way. For there is no lasting memory of the wise or the fools. Ecclesiastes 2:16. If death equalizes everyone, what's the point of pursuing wisdom? But wisdom is still better than foolishness. Despite being meaningless ultimately, wisdom has real value. Wisdom is better than foolishness, just as light is better than darkness. The wise man sees where he's going, but the fool walks in darkness. Yet I came to realize that the same fate overtakes them both. Ecclesiastes 2:13-14. Even though both wise and fool die the same, the wise person sees where they're going. The fool stumbles in darkness. The wise person makes better decisions, lives more skillfully, avoids many painful mistakes. Wisdom is genuinely valuable. It's just not ultimately satisfying. It can't answer the deepest questions, can't provide ultimate meaning, can't overcome death. The limitation of human wisdom. No one can comprehend what is happening under the sun. Despite their efforts to search it out, no one can discover its meaning. Ecclesiastes 8:16-17. Human wisdom has ceiling. No matter how much you learn, study, investigate, you can't find ultimate meaning through knowledge alone. Why? Because ultimate meaning is found in God. And God can't be fully comprehended by human wisdom. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. Ecclesiastes 3:11. God placed eternity in our hearts, hunger for meaning beyond the temporal. But that meaning can't be found through human investigation alone. It must be revealed by God. The paradox of wisdom. Proverbs says, "Fear of the Lord is beginning of wisdom." Ecclesiastes shows wisdom without fear of God is ultimately unsatisfying. They work together, Proverbs teaches what wisdom is. Ecclesiastes shows what wisdom without God produces. What this teaches: 1. Knowledge alone doesn't satisfy. You can learn everything and still feel empty. Many brilliant people are deeply unhappy because knowledge without God can't answer life's deepest questions. 2. More knowledge can bring more pain. Wisdom sees reality clearly. Sometimes reality is painful. Ignorance isn't bliss, it's just blindness. 3. Wisdom is still valuable despite limitations. Light is better than darkness. Learn, study, grow, but don't expect wisdom alone to fill the void. 4. Death equalizes everyone, rich or poor, wise or foolish, famous or obscure. All die. Most are forgotten. This reality demands a vertical perspective, God and eternity, to make sense. 5. Eternity is already in our hearts. God placed that hunger there. The fact that we seek meaning beyond the temporal proves God designed us for it. 6. Human wisdom has a ceiling, beyond which only God's revelation can go. The wisest person still needs God. Second experiment: pleasure and entertainment. I said to myself, come on, let me test you with pleasures. Enjoy what is good, but it turned out to be meaningless. Ecclesiastes 2:1. If wisdom didn't satisfy, maybe pleasure will. The pursuit. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself and planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made irrigation pools to water the groves of trees. I bought male and female slaves and had slaves who were born in my house. Also, I owned more livestock, herds and flocks than anyone in Jerusalem before me. I also amassed to myself silver and gold and the treasures of kings and provinces. Ecclesiastes 2:4-8. Solomon tested pleasure in every possible way: entertainment and laughter, wine and drinking, architecture and building gardens and nature, music and arts, wealth and luxury, romance and relationships. Everything available to human pleasure, he tested. The discovery. When I surveyed all I had done, all the work I had labored over, I saw that it was all meaningless, a chasing after the wind. There was no gain from all my labor under the sun. Ecclesiastes 2:11. He experienced it all and found it all ultimately unsatisfying. Not that the pleasures weren't real, they were. I did not restrain myself from any pleasure that my eyes desired. I did not deny myself any joy. Ecclesiastes 2:10. He fully experienced every pleasure available, but yet when I looked at what my hands had accomplished and what I had worked for, everything was meaningless. Ecclesiastes 2:10. The pleasures were real but temporary. The satisfaction faded. The achievements looked impressive but felt empty. The problem with pleasure as ultimate goal. 1. Pleasure is temporary by nature. Every pleasure ends. You eat the meal, it's gone. You watch the entertainment, it's over. You experience the thrill, it fades. Then you need more to feel the same. 2. Pleasure doesn't answer life's deepest questions. Fun doesn't explain why we exist. Entertainment doesn't give purpose. Enjoyment doesn't overcome death. 3. Hedonism creates addiction. I said of laughter, what does it accomplish? And of pleasures, what does this achieve? Ecclesiastes 2:2. Chasing pleasure leads to needing more and more to feel the same. The cycle never ends, never satisfies. But pleasure isn't evil. Critical point: Ecclesiastes doesn't condemn pleasure. Later chapters celebrate it. Go, eat your food with enjoyment, and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already approved what you do. Ecclesiastes 9:7. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Ecclesiastes 9:10. Enjoy life with the wife whom you love, all the days of your vain life that he has given you under the sun. Ecclesiastes 9:9. Pleasure is a gift from God. The problem isn't experiencing pleasure. The problem is making pleasure your ultimate goal, using it to fill the void that only God can fill. The modern application. Today's culture is obsessed with pleasure. Entertainment industry, streaming, social media, gaming, instant gratification, Amazon Prime, food delivery, experience economy, live, laugh, love, dopamine-driven lifestyle. And people are more dissatisfied than ever. Record rates of depression, anxiety, addiction, meaninglessness, suicide. Ecclesiastes predicted this 3,000 years ago. More pleasure doesn't equal more satisfaction. When pleasure becomes your God, it becomes your prison. What this teaches: 1. Pleasure is real but temporary. Enjoy it, but don't make it your ultimate pursuit. 2. Hedonism doesn't fill the void. No amount of entertainment, luxury, or enjoyment satisfies the deepest hunger. 3. Pleasure is a gift, not a god. Receive it gratefully from God. Don't worship it as source of meaning. 4. Modern entertainment addiction confirms Ecclesiastes. More pleasure-seeking producing more emptiness. Solomon saw this coming. 5. The void pleasure can't fill is God-shaped. Only God can fill the deepest human hunger. Pleasure points to Him, but can't replace Him. 6. Joy is still commanded. Go, eat your food with enjoyment. Joy is biblical. Pleasure is good, but in proper place, as gift from God, not replacement for God. Third experiment: work, achievement, and legacy. I hated all my work, in which I had labored under the sun, because I must leave it to the man who comes after me. Ecclesiastes 2:18. The pursuit. Solomon built God's temple, greatest architectural achievement of ancient world. His palace. Cities, infrastructure, military power, international trade network, legacy that would last generations. Everything a person could achieve, he achieved. The discovery. I hated all my work, in which I had labored under the sun, because I must leave it to the man who comes after me, and who knows whether that man will be wise or a fool. Ecclesiastes 2:18-19. 3 devastating realizations about work and achievement. 1. You must leave it all behind. Everything you build, everything you achieve, everything you accumulate, you leave it all when you die. For we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it. 2 Timothy 6:7. Ecclesiastes taught this truth long before Paul quoted it. 2. You can't control what happens to your legacy. Who knows whether that man will be wise or a fool? Ecclesiastes 2:19. You might spend decades building something meaningful. The person who inherits it might destroy it in a day. History is full of examples. Kingdoms built by wise kings destroyed by foolish sons, companies built over generations ruined by incompetent heirs, fortunes accumulated carefully squandered recklessly. Solomon himself saw this coming. His son Rehoboam destroyed his kingdom in one speech. 3. Hard work without meaning feels futile. So I loathed all my work in which I had labored under the sun. Ecclesiastes 2:18. If everything you build will be left behind, possibly destroyed by someone else, what's the point? The hamster wheel. For all their hard work, a person eats nothing better than what their appetite desires. Ecclesiastes 6:7. Work produces food. Food sustains life. Life produces more need for food. Food requires more work. It's a cycle. Without ultimate purpose, work becomes hamster wheel. Running and running, never arriving anywhere. But work is still meaningful. Again, Ecclesiastes doesn't condemn work. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. For in the realm of the dead, where you are going, there is neither work, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. Ecclesiastes 9:10. Do your work fully. Invest in it completely, but understand its limitations. Work is real and valuable. It's just not ultimately satisfying without God giving it eternal purpose. The futility of legacy. For there is no lasting memory of the wise or the fools. Ecclesiastes 2:16. Most people who ever lived are completely forgotten, even kings and emperors. Given enough time, almost all human achievements fade unless God preserves them in eternity. What this teaches: 1. Achievement without eternal purpose feels empty. You can build an empire and still feel meaningless, because under the sun, everything eventually falls. 2. Legacy is uncertain. You can't control what happens to what you build. And 3. Work is still valuable. Do it fully, do it with all your might. Ecclesiastes 9:10. But give it to God. Work as unto Him. Then your work has eternal significance, even if forgotten on earth. 4. The hamster wheel is real. Without God giving work eternal meaning, it becomes endless cycle of labor without ultimate destination. 5. Only God preserves what matters, for God will bring every deed into judgment. Ecclesiastes 12:14. Your work matters to God even if world forgets. 6. This explains midlife crisis. Person achieves everything society says should satisfy, then feels empty because achievement without God can't fill the void. One of Ecclesiastes' most beautiful and quoted passages: To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Ecclesiastes 3:1-8. This passage reveals something crucial. Life has appointed times, seasons, rhythms, patterns. God designed life with structure. The divine design of seasons. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Ecclesiastes 3:11. In its time. Not every action is appropriate in every moment. Not every season calls for the same response. Wisdom requires knowing when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to be silent, when to give and when to receive, when to fight and when to surrender, when to mourn and when to celebrate. The tension, eternity in our hearts. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. Ecclesiastes 3:11. Beautiful and painful simultaneously. God placed eternity in us. We feel it. That hunger for meaning beyond temporal, but we can't fully understand God's eternal plan. We see seasons, we experience moments, but the full picture, God's design from beginning to end, is beyond human comprehension. This creates the tension. We know there's more than under the sun, but we can't see the whole picture, living by faith in between. The injustice problem. Moreover, in the place of judgment, wickedness was there, and in the place of justice, wickedness was there. Ecclesiastes 3:16. Life isn't always fair. Ecclesiastes doesn't pretend it is. Wicked people sit in places of judgment. Justice is corrupted. Good people suffer. Bad people prosper. This is one of the most honest observations in Scripture. I said in my heart, God will judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time for every purpose and a time for every deed. Ecclesiastes 3:17. The teacher's response to injustice: God will judge, not now necessarily, but ultimately. The appointed time for justice will come. The animal comparison. Surely the fate of humans is like that of the animals. The same fate awaits them both. As one dies, so dies the other. They have the same breath. Humans have no advantage over the animals. Ecclesiastes 3:19. From under the sun perspective, humans and animals both die. Both return to dust, both seem equally meaningless in the end, but the teacher hasn't finished. God will judge human beings. Animals aren't judged. Humans have souls that outlive bodies. The beauty in timing, and there is a time for everything. This teaches us, don't rush what needs time, don't delay what needs action. Mourn when mourning is needed, celebrate when celebrating is appropriate, speak when speaking is called for, be silent when silence is wisdom. Ecclesiastes validates every human emotion, joy and sorrow, love and hate, war and peace. All have their appointed time. What this teaches: 1. Life has God-designed seasons, not random, not chaotic, structured. 2. Wisdom requires timing, right action at wrong time, wrong action. 3. God placed eternity in us, that hunger for meaning is divine design, not accident. 4. Life isn't always fair, but God will judge. Ecclesiastes acknowledges injustice honestly, but points to God's ultimate justice. 5. All emotions are valid in their season. Grief isn't weakness. Joy isn't denial. Both have their appointed time. 6. We can't see the full picture. Living by faith means trusting God's plan even when we can't comprehend it. 7. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Even painful seasons serve God's purpose. Even difficult times have beauty when seen through God's lens. Ecclesiastes makes powerful case for human connection. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. The loneliness epidemic. Again I saw under the sun, there was a man alone. He had neither son nor brother. There was no end to his toil. His eyes never had enough of riches. For whom do I toil, he asked, and of whom will benefit from my labor? This too is meaningless, a sad affair. Ecclesiastes 4:7-8. Solo pursuit of meaning, sad affair, working endlessly, accumulating without purpose. For whom? No one to share with, no one to benefit. Life without community is ultimately hollow. 3 benefits of companionship. 1. Productivity. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. Ecclesiastes 4:9. Together we accomplish more than alone. 2. Support. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Ecclesiastes 4:10. Life will knock you down. Having someone to help you up isn't weakness, it's wisdom. 3. Protection and warmth. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Ecclesiastes 4:11. Literal warmth in ancient world, no central heating. But also emotional warmth, comfort, security, the cord of 3 strands. Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Ecclesiastes 4:12. Beautiful progression. 1 strand breaks easily, 2 strands stronger, 3 strands not quickly broken. Application. Individual, vulnerable partnership, stronger community of faith, resilient. The danger of isolation. Pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Ecclesiastes 4:10. Ecclesiastes warns against working for no one, living alone without connection, pursuing meaning in isolation, accumulating without sharing. The modern application. Despite unprecedented connectivity, social media technology, we're experiencing record loneliness, epidemic of isolation, crisis of belonging. No close friends epidemic among young adults. Ecclesiastes predicted this 3,000 years ago. Technology can't replace genuine human connection. Community isn't optional. It's essential for human flourishing. What this teaches: 1. Humans are designed for community, not optional, essential. 2. Loneliness is spiritually dangerous. Working endlessly, for whom, is tragic waste. 3. We need each other. Productivity, support, protection, all better together. 4. 3 strands aren't quickly broken. Faith community is essential protection against life's storms. 5. Sharing gives work meaning. For whom do I toil? Needs an answer. 6. Modern loneliness confirms ancient wisdom. More connected than ever, more alone than ever. Human connection can't be digitized. One of Ecclesiastes' most challenging passages. Guard your steps when you go to the house of God. Go near to listen rather than to offer sacrifice, and offer your body rather than foolish lips. Do not be hasty with your mouth or quick with your heart to utter anything before God. God is in heaven and you are on earth, so let your words be few. Ecclesiastes 5:1-2. The warning. Ecclesiastes warns against religion that's outwardly impressive but inwardly hollow, full of words but lacking genuine fear of God. Practiced for appearances, not relationship religion under the sun. Horizontal, not vertical. Much dreaming and many words are meaningless. So fear God. Ecclesiastes 5:7. Words without relationship. Do not be hasty with your mouth or quick with your heart to utter anything before God. Ecclesiastes 5:2. Consider, how many words do we say to God? How many of those words come from genuine relationship? How many are just words? Ecclesiastes challenges us: less talking, more listening. Go near to listen rather than to offer sacrifice. The vows problem. When you make a vow to God, do not delay in fulfilling it. He has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill what you have vowed. It is better not to make a vow than to make one and not fulfill it. Ecclesiastes 5:4-5. Don't promise God what you won't deliver. Better to say nothing than to say something and not follow through. God is in heaven, you are on earth. God is in heaven and you are on earth, so let your words be few. Ecclesiastes 5:2. Massive gap between God and us. He's infinite. We're finite. He's eternal. We're temporal. He's holy. We're sinful. This calls for humility in worship, not casual familiarity, not treating God like peer, reverence, awe, few words, genuine heart, religion that exploits. If you see the oppression of the poor and the denial of justice and rights in a province, don't be surprised. For one official watches over another, and there are officials over them. Ecclesiastes 5:8. Religion can be used to exploit. Corrupt religious systems oppress the vulnerable. True fear of God produces justice. False religion produces corruption. What this teaches: 1. Religion without genuine relationship is meaningless. Going through motions isn't worship. 2. Less words, more listening. God doesn't need our eloquence. He needs our genuine hearts. 3. Keep your promises to God. Don't make vows you won't keep. 4. Worship requires humility. God is in heaven. You are on earth. Reverence, not casual familiarity. 5. True religion produces justice. If your faith doesn't make you just, it's hollow. 6. Ecclesiastes warns against spiritual performance. Outwardly impressive worship with inwardly hollow heart is worse than honest silence. Despite declaring everything meaningless, Ecclesiastes repeatedly commands enjoyment. Go, eat your food with enjoyment, and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already approved what you do. Ecclesiastes 9-7, the commands of joy. 1. Enjoy food and drink. Go, eat your food with enjoyment, and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already approved what you do. Ecclesiastes 9:7. God approves of enjoying his gifts, not guilt, not shame, gratitude. 2. Enjoy marriage. Enjoy life with the wife whom you love, all the days of your vain life that he has given you under the sun. Ecclesiastes 9:9. Marriage is gift to be enjoyed. Even knowing life is fleeting, especially knowing life is fleeting. 3. Enjoy work. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might, for in the realm of the dead where you are going, there is neither work, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. Ecclesiastes 9:10. Work fully, invest completely, not because it lasts forever, but because it's meaningful now. 4. Enjoy youth. Young people, enjoy yourselves while you are young. Let your heart give you joy while you are young. Follow the desires of your heart, and whatever your eyes desire, but know that for all these things God will bring you to judgment. Ecclesiastes 11:9. Enjoy youth, but with awareness, God will judge. Joy isn't reckless, it's grateful. The paradox of joy. How can everything be meaningless and we're commanded to enjoy life? Because meaningless doesn't mean worthless. It means these things can't provide ultimate meaning, but they can provide real, genuine joy. The key is receiving them as gifts from God, not as replacements for God, not as ultimate sources of meaning, but as beautiful, temporary blessings to be enjoyed gratefully. God has already approved what you do. This phrase is crucial. God approves of human enjoyment. Pleasure isn't sinful by nature. Food, wine, marriage, work, youth, all blessed by God. The problem isn't enjoying them. The problem is worshipping them. Facing death with joy. For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing. They have no reward, and memory of them is forgotten. Ecclesiastes 9:5. We know we will die. This should produce despair. But Ecclesiastes says it should produce joy, because life is precious, because it's temporary. Since no one can know what will come after us, who can tell someone what will happen after they die? Ecclesiastes 9:12. Uncertainty about what comes after, but invitation to enjoy what's here now, the proper relationship with enjoyment, not guilt when enjoying life, denial of pleasure, pretending everything is terrible but also not, making pleasure your God, pursuing enjoyment recklessly, ignoring coming judgment. Rather, grateful enjoyment of God's gifts, joy with awareness of God's design, pleasure received as blessing, not worshipped as meaning. What this teaches. 1. Joy is biblical, not just permitted, commanded. 2. Meaningless doesn't mean joyless. Life can be fleeting and beautiful. 3. Receive life as gift, not entitlement, not right, gift from God. 4. Enjoy fully while here, do it with all your might. Ecclesiastes 9:10. 5. Joy with awareness, not reckless enjoyment, grateful, God-aware celebration of life. 6. Death makes life precious, not diminished, heightened. 7. God approves of human enjoyment. You don't need to feel guilty enjoying God's gifts. Death haunts Ecclesiastes. It's the ultimate reality that makes everything meaningless under the sun. For humans die just like the animals. Humans have no advantage over the animals. Everything is meaningless. Ecclesiastes 3:19. The equalizer. Death doesn't care about wealth or poverty, wisdom or foolishness, fame or obscurity, achievement or failure, power or weakness. Everyone dies. For there is no lasting memory of the wise or the fools. Ecclesiastes 2:16. Eventually, most are forgotten. Given enough time, even kings become dust. The mystery. Who knows what happens to the human spirit when it goes up and to the animal spirit when it goes down to the earth? Ecclesiastes 3:21. Ecclesiastes raises the question but doesn't fully answer it. From under the sun perspective, we don't know what happens after death. This uncertainty is part of what makes everything feel meaningless. The urgency it creates. It is better to go to a funeral than a party, because this is the end of all people. The living should take this to heart. Ecclesiastes 7:1. Sounds morbid. Actually, wisdom. Facing death honestly creates urgency about living meaningfully, clarity about what actually matters, freedom from fear of others' opinions, genuine appreciation for life. Better the day of your death than the day of your birth. Ecclesiastes 7:1. Shocking statement. But consider, birth, beginning of journey toward death. Death, arrival at final destination. If that destination is with God, death is better than birth. The shadow over achievement. For humans die just like the animals. Humans have no advantage over the animals. Ecclesiastes 3:19. Under the sun, death renders all achievement temporary. Build the greatest empire, it falls. Write the greatest book, it's forgotten. Accumulate greatest wealth, you leave it all. Death is the great equalizer that makes everything under the sun feel meaningless, unless God and eternity enter the picture. The setup for the conclusion. Everything in Ecclesiastes has been building toward this. Death makes life meaningless, under the sun. But chapter 12 will reveal, for God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing. Ecclesiastes 12:14. Death isn't the end, judgment follows, which means life has ultimate meaning. Every deed matters, even the hidden ones. What this teaches: 1. Death is real and universal. No one escapes it. 2. Death honestly faced creates wisdom, not morbid obsession, genuine clarity about what matters. 3. Under the sun, death makes everything temporary. This is the source of life's apparent meaninglessness. 4. Death creates urgency. Live fully, love deeply, don't waste time. 5. The mystery remains. Human wisdom can't fully answer what happens after death. Only God's revelation can. 6. This sets up everything. Death is the problem. God is the answer. Ecclesiastes has been showing the problem. The conclusion will reveal the answer. Ecclesiastes ends with one of Scripture's most beautiful and haunting passages. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come, and the years approach when you will say, I find no pleasure in them. Ecclesiastes 12:1. The aging allegory. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the sun and the light and the stars grow dim and the clouds return after the rain. Ecclesiastes 12:2. What follows is stunning allegory of aging, when the keepers of the house tremble, hands shaking, and the strong men stoop, legs weakening, and those who grind cease because they are few, teeth falling out, and those who see through the windows grow dim. Eyes failing, when the doors to the street are closed, and the sound in the street grows quiet. Hearing loss, withdrawal from social life. When one is afraid of heights and of dangers in the streets, fear of falling, loss of independence. When the almond tree blossoms, white hair, and the grasshopper drags itself along. Frailty, slow movement, and desire is no longer stirred. Loss of physical desire. This is remarkably accurate medical description of aging, written 3,000 years ago. For humans go to their eternal home and mourners go about the streets. Ecclesiastes 12:5. Death approaching, mourners preparing. The dust and the spirit, and the dust returns to the ground it came from, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Ecclesiastes 12:7. Two things happen at death. 1. Body returns to dust, physical, temporary, under the sun. 2. Spirit returns to God, eternal, beyond, under the sun. This is crucial. Body is temporary. Spirit is eternal. Under the sun only sees the body returning to dust, but God sees the spirit returning to him. This changes everything. Why youth matters. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth. Ecclesiastes 12:1. Not later, not when convenient, now, while young. Because youth has energy and capacity, old age brings physical decline. Evil days come when body fails. I find no pleasure in them, describes aging's limitations. This doesn't mean old age is worthless. It means the time to establish relationship with God is now. Don't wait until body fails. Don't wait until evil days come. Start now, while you can. The Scrolls allegory. Go beyond the scrolls, my son. The making of many books has no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. Ecclesiastes 12:12. Knowledge has limits. No amount of reading, studying, researching will answer life's ultimate questions. Only God can. What this teaches: 1. Aging is inevitable. Ecclesiastes describes it honestly and accurately. 2. The body is temporary. Dust returns to the ground. 3. The spirit is eternal. Returns to God who gave it. 4. Remember God while young, don't wait. Establish relationship with God now. 5. Physical decline doesn't end, meaning spirit returns to God regardless of body's condition. 6. Knowledge has limits. Much study is weariness of the flesh. Only God's revelation answers ultimate questions. 7. A life well lived ends with spirit returning to God, not greatest achievement, not most wealth, spirit returning to the one who gave it. Everything in Ecclesiastes has been building to this. Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. Ecclesiastes 12:13-14. The verdict. After testing everything, wisdom, meaningless, ultimately pleasure, meaningless, ultimately work and achievement, meaningless, ultimately wealth, meaningless, ultimately legacy, meaningless, ultimately fame, meaningless, ultimately. The conclusion: fear God and keep his commandments. 2 elements. 1. Fear God. Same foundation as Proverbs. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Proverbs 1:7. Ecclesiastes confirms, without this, everything is vapor. With this, everything has meaning. 2. Keep his commandments, not just knowing God, obeying him. Faith without obedience were meaningless. This is the duty of all mankind. Not optional, not for special few, everyone's duty. The judgment. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. Ecclesiastes 12:14. This changes everything. If there's no judgment, life truly is meaningless under the sun. But God will judge. Every deed, every hidden thing, whether good or evil, nothing is wasted. Nothing is forgotten. Nothing escapes God's attention. Every moment of your life matters, even the ones no one sees. The transformation before the conclusion, life under the sun, meaningless, futile, chasing wind. After the conclusion, same life, same circumstances, but now with purpose, God's design. Meaning, every deed matters to God. Hope, judgment means justice. Accountability, hidden things revealed. Eternal significance, beyond under the sun. The same life becomes meaningful when God enters the equation. Not different circumstances, different perspective. Vertical versus horizontal under the sun, horizontal perspective. Earthly only, meaningless, fear God. Vertical perspective, eternal, meaningful. Ecclesiastes' entire journey started horizontal, showed it's meaningless. The gospel preview. Jesus later said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. John 14:6. Ecclesiastes showed, without God, life is meaningless. Jesus revealed, I am the way to God. I am the meaning you're searching for. Ecclesiastes prepared the heart. Jesus fills the void. What this teaches: 1. Everything truly is meaningless without God. Ecclesiastes proved it through exhaustive experiment. 2. Everything becomes meaningful with God. Same life, different perspective. 3. Fear of God is non-negotiable. Without it, vapor, wind, meaninglessness. With it, purpose, meaning, eternal significance. 4. Obedience matters, not just knowing God, following Him. 5. Every deed matters. God will judge everything. Nothing escapes. 6. This is the Bible's answer to existential crisis. What's the point? Fear God. Keep His commandments. He will judge. 7. Ecclesiastes prepared the gospel, showed the problem. Life without God is meaningless. Jesus revealed the solution. I am the way, truth, life. We began with the most shocking statement in Scripture. Meaningless, meaningless, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Ecclesiastes 1:2. And people heard, life has no meaning. What the teacher actually said. Life has no meaning without God. The entire book is a journey from the devastating experiment showing life under the sun is meaningless to the liberating conclusion that changes everything. Fear God and keep His commandments. Ecclesiastes 12:13. The experiment's results. The teacher tested everything available. Wisdom. More knowledge brought more grief. Both wise and foolish die the same. But wisdom is still better than foolishness. Light better than darkness. Pleasure, every enjoyment experienced fully, all ultimately unsatisfying, but pleasure is still a gift from God to be enjoyed gratefully. Work and achievement, greatest accomplishments in history, all must be left behind, legacy uncertain, but work should still be done with all your might. Wealth, accumulated beyond imagination, can't follow you to the grave, but money should still be managed wisely and given generously. Legacy, kings forgotten, achievements erased by time, but every deed recorded by God for judgment. Community, two are better than one. Human connection is essential, but can't fill the void only God can fill. Religion without God, hollow words and empty rituals. True worship requires genuine fear of God. The wisdom collected along the way. Despite everything being meaningless, Ecclesiastes collected real wisdom. Life has appointed seasons. Know when to act and when to wait. Joy is commanded. Enjoy life as gift from God. Community is essential. Two are better than one. Timing matters. Everything beautiful in its time. Death is real. Face it honestly. Let it create urgency. Youth is precious. Remember God while young. Obedience matters. Faith without action is hollow. The transformation before God enters the picture. Life is vapor, breath, mist, real but ungraspable, temporary, unsatisfying, meaningless. After God enters the picture, same life, same circumstances. But now, every moment has eternal significance. Every deed matters to God. Every hidden thing will be judged. Purpose exists beyond under the sun. Hope exists beyond death. Meaning found in relationship with Creator. The vertical perspective changes everything. Under the sun, horizontal, meaningless. Fear God, vertical, meaningful. Not different life, different lens. The spirit returns to God. The dust returns to the ground it came from, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Ecclesiastes 12:7. Body is temporary, returns to dust. Spirit is eternal, returns to God. This is the ultimate answer to death's shadow. Death isn't the end. The spirit returns to its creator. But how? Ecclesiastes raises the question. Jesus answers it. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. John 14:6. Ecclesiastes showed the problem. Christ revealed the solution. The gospel in Ecclesiastes. The problem, life without God is meaningless. Death makes everything temporary. Human wisdom can't find ultimate meaning. The void can't be filled by any earthly pursuit. The solution, fear God. Keep His commandments. He will judge every deed. The spirit returns to God, and Jesus is the way to that God. 10 lessons from Ecclesiastes 1. Life without God is meaningless, not opinion, demonstrated truth through exhaustive experiment. 2. Life with God is profoundly meaningful. Same life, vertical perspective changes everything. 3. No earthly pursuit fills the God-shaped void. Wisdom, pleasure, achievement, wealth, fame, all insufficient. 4. Joy is still commanded. Go, eat your food with enjoyment. Life is gift to celebrate. 5. Community is essential. 2 are better than 1. We need each other. 6. Death creates urgency, not despair. Face it honestly. Let it motivate meaningful living. 7. Life has seasons. Wisdom requires knowing when to act and when to wait. 8. Remember God while young. Don't wait for evil days. Start now. 9. Every deed matters. God will judge everything. Nothing escapes his attention. 10. Jesus fills what Ecclesiastes identified as empty. The void. Ecclesiastes exposed. Christ fills it completely. The most misunderstood book in the Bible. People read, "Everything is meaningless," and conclude the Bible is pessimistic. Actually, Ecclesiastes is the Bible's most powerful argument for God, because it honestly shows what life looks like without him, and then reveals what changes when he enters. Not pessimistic, brutally honest, and arriving at the most liberating conclusion in all of Scripture: fear God and keep his commandments. Everything else is vapor, but this is everything.